Hey there, welcome to another episode of Muzikxpress. My name is Twan and this week's vlog is going to be a very special one because in this week's episode of Muzikxpress you will see the interview that I did with no one else than Jean-Michel Jarre. Enjoy! Jean-Michel Jarre was born on August 24, 1948 in Lyon in France. He is a composer, producer and is also known for his unforgettable live performances all around the world. Jean-Michel was raised by his mother and his grandparents, and he got his first record player as a gift from his grandfather, who used to be an oboe player and was also responsible for designing an early audio mixer which was used at Radio Lyon. Jean-Michel started to play classical piano and later he became a guitar player in a band called the Dustbins. At the end of the 1960s, he started to experiment more with other instruments and sounds. He built his own little home studio and also released some music then. In 1976, Jean-Michel Jarre produced his solo album Oxygene, which was a low-budget album which he recorded at his home studio in Paris. At first, there were no record companies that wanted to sign and release the album, because it wasn't anything like what was being played on the radio back then. All tracks were without vocals and most tracks were over 5 minutes, so not very radio-friendly. Many record companies turned down the album because they thought it would not sell. But luckily the album got released by the label Disc Motors and until now it sold over 12 million copies worldwide, which makes it the best-selling French record of all time. Jean-Michel Jarre received plenty of awards and honors for his contribution to music. He's also in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the highest number of visitors at an outdoor event, and he broke his own record 3 times. In 1981 he was the first Western artist that got invited to China to perform. He got a Medium Award, a Mojo Lifetime Achievement Award, he was awarded the Legion of Honor by the French government, he got the Stephen Hawking Medal for Science Communication, he is a UNESCO ambassador, and he sold around 80 million records worldwide so far. So I guess you can imagine that I was very excited and also quite nervous when I got a confirmation that I would be able to speak to Jean-Michel Jarre during his visit to the Netherlands as part of the Amsterdam Dance Event. On Friday, October 19, 2018, Jean-Michel was part of Native Sessions, a 45-minute interview done by techno legend Dave Clarke, which was very interesting and funny as well. Afterwards, there was a small 50-minute Q&A, which I was part of as well. I recorded the complete session and I managed to ask a few questions to Jean-Michel myself as well. But since I think the entire Q&A might be interesting, I decided to overdub the questions from the other 2 guys and use everything in this vlog. So I'm not gonna take credit for the entire interview since some of the questions were done by others. Enjoy! After some years of silence, the last few years you released quite a lot of albums. You got like very inspired all of a sudden, or what was the reason behind that?
Yeah, actually I've been like everybody else in my life, through quite dark moments. 10 years ago, and it was quite difficult. I lost both of my parents and my publisher. Go through personal dark divorce. It was difficult and I was actually totally blocked in studio. I couldn't do almost anything. And then I started this Electronica project by collaborating with lots of different artists, very important to me, linked to electronic music of course. And then it has been really like a therapy and a kind of initiation journey in a sense. And it took me actually 5 years because everybody said yes, and what was supposed to be a minimalist project became a massive project with two albums of 80 minutes, like 4 vinyls. So it took me more or less 5 years, and I learned a lot, and that put me in kind of creative process. And actually I realized just that at the end of this year I would have released almost 5 albums in 3 years, and it's interesting to see in life that sometimes you are in a creative waves, and it's what I think these days with a lot of different projects going on. And I'm very happy about my next album, Equinox Infinity. It's a quite exciting project to me, and for this project actually I started for the first time of my life with a total different approach from the artwork of the first Equinox. We remember this great iconic cover with the strange creatures like this, and then I said, okay, what happened to them today and what would happen to them in 40 years from now? And I found an artist on Instagram called Filip Odas, a young guy from Czechia, 24 years old, and I asked him to conceive that I had in mind 2 different covers for the same music, for the same album, and that was before I went in studio. And then when I had this, one symbolizing a kind of peaceful future and one more apocalyptic type of future. And then the whole idea for this album was to create a soundtrack fitting both possibilities. And it's what I've done with this album. And this is the reason why I'm quite excited by it, because it was a totally different way of approaching music, and we all know that we need some time to do something where you have so much music being released. What's the point to release one more thing if you don't have actually yourself a good reason to do it?
Is it easier for you to make music now because there's much more different technology available these days? And are you also involved with native instruments?
Actually, I've always been curious and excited by new technology, like a naughty child, and I think that my relationship with technology is based on that. And actually, I always mix technology and music. For me, it's like an addiction, and I think I'm part of the artist. I mean, being as fresh as I was when I started, and maybe even more in phase, because you have more possibilities, you have more, and when you think about native instruments, for me, native instruments are producing the Stradivarius of electronic music. I mean, they are like real craftsmen, and innovating in, offering us total new instruments. And as I said before, I mean, getting away from just imitating the analog world by just adding 1 or 2 parameters. Now we entered with Native and some other companies also into an era where when you approach a digital soft synth, it has nothing to do with the analog world. You can create then a totally different sound, and mixing both worlds is something very exciting.
Do you have plans to release some of your older concerts in Blu-ray format for your fans?
Yes, I know it's a recurring question, and it's just a matter of, there is 2 reasons it didn't happen so far. First one was a problem of rights. It was production rights, but that now is solved. But secondly, it's a problem of technical quality. For instance, if you go back in time, where for instance, my Houston concert, or it was in days where you were still in Betacam, for instance, where it's quite dark, and we're used now to so much quality in terms of images and visuals, that it's sometimes a bit disappointing. So I'm more into something that I would like, when I have some time to achieve, maybe to do a kind of best of every concert of that period, and to make something really decent technically. But that requires time that I didn't have yet at that stage. But I really will do it one day.
You already mentioned the cover artwork of your new album, which is done by Filip Odas from the Czech Republic. How was it to work with such a young artist?
You know, I really found somebody this is a virtual encounter, because we never met physically, because he's in Prague and I was traveling all over the world. But we clicked, and it's it's not that usual. We clicked immediately together, and he said, "Okay, feed me with what you want." And then I've been quite precise, because he was asking to tell him what I wanted. So the 2 covers, for instance, did you see them or not? Have you seen them? Yes. They are quite. It was quite precisely what I wanted, and then he delivered exactly what I had in mind. And then we just fine-tuned together what we want, and then we are still making lots of variations of that, and creating some also short videos, like 3D animations. So it's a very visual project, this one, where lots of images are going even to be produced, and actually at the very moment is producing another image for the project. So we are still working together for different things. So it has been a real pleasure and excitement to work with somebody able to understand so precisely what I had in mind.
One of the covers looks actually a bit like the Blade Runner movie. Was that done on purpose?
No, actually I had.
Do you see also?
I had this in mind, and then I saw Blade Runner 2049, and I said, I'm sure that people are going to ask me the question, but actually it was not linked to Blade Runner, even if I'm a massive fan of the second Blade Runner. I'm a big fan of the first one, but today I would almost prefer the second one if I would hierarchy. And I know that it has not been the case for some people, but I love the second movie, and I love the soundtrack. It's like the Vangelis version on steroids. Yeah.
You have influenced a lot of musicians in your career, but which people did influence you?
I mean, first of all the people present in Electronica 1 and 2, and also probably all the musicians that will be probably present in Electronica 3.
And when is that one coming?
Sorry?
When is that one coming? Electronica 3?
I don't know, because I have to start. I'm starting now, but that it really opened doors to lots of possibilities, and I'm really happy about. I'm really considering continuing this Electronica project as a side project in my life, apart from studio album or live albums or tour. I think it's very, very interesting for me, and I hope for the collaborators as well. And that I learned a lot of things by Electronica 1 and 2 that I would like to express in the next bunch of people I would love to work with. So many people.
You are in the music industry for 50 years now. Do you have any idea how many golden and platinum records you did collect so far?
No, I'm not. I mean, I know that my career has been linked with some of world records but I'm not sponsored by Guinness, so I'm not following this on a day-to-day basis, so I have no idea. But these days, actually, it's more and more difficult to get some platinum album with the problem of music industry through the internet and all things that we all know.
You were just 20 years old when you started to produce music. Did something change during the years in the way you approach music?
I think of course, technology around has changed so much that, of course, the way to produce music technically has changed entirely. I would say that by the end of the day, I don't know if I changed that much. I think that what I wanted to express when I started is still more or less the same. I think that I said in some maybe interviews you read already that I had the privilege to meet the Italian director called Federico Fellini, and he told me something at the end of his life, very inspiring to me, and that he said, you know, Jean-Michel, I think I did every time I was doing a movie, I thought it was a totally different one, and now looking back, I think I always did the same movie, and I think it's very true. If you think about I don't know, Tarantino or Houellebecq, the French writer, or Jean-Luc Godard, or Coldplay, U2, the Beatles, or I don't know, any kind of electronic artist, they're all telling us the same thing. So they all did the same movie or the same track. By this, I think that you instantly recognize their style, and they cannot escape from their style. Each time they are escaping totally from their style, it's less interesting. So, for instance, I would dream to have an album sounding like Massive Attack, but I know it's not possible because I'm not Massive Attack.
You recently signed a contract in the USA with Oslo Works. What is the reason you did sign with them? And are you still with Sony?
When I signed with Sony, I put aside in the contract the US and China, and saying that we'll see with Sony how it works, and with the mutual agreement, I'm very, very happy with Sony, and my home territory is Sony GSA. I'm very, very happy with them, and basically it's the first time I'm so happy with a record company worldwide. But then in the US, we both agreed that maybe I would need something else, and then and somebody from Sony moved to be the head of Astral Works, and he knows my work a lot, and this is the reason why Toby Andrews is the CEO of Astral Works, the new young CEO, and that in a sense stays in the family, but with the same approach and probably something more adapted to the US market.
As an ambassador of UNESCO, how important is it for you to include a political message with your music?
You know, it's what I said in this panel just before with Dave Clarke. I mean, I'm really interested these days, and this is what Equinox Infinity is all about, these two covers, about the fact that these watches for me are symbolizing the evolution of technology, the fact that we'll be able to evolve in the 21st century in good faith if we can create harmonious relationship both with environment and new technology, basically with environment, artificial intelligence. And if we understand that, it should be okay. Otherwise, we can really be fucked up entirely. So that's exactly the two future I was trying to express through this project. And musically, what does it mean? The first Equinox was a lot linked with environment and sound of rain and wind and all that. So this time I wanted to recreate most of the natural sound I have made, I mean, with computers and artificially, and also mixed with environmental sounds with digital sounds and more technology sound. I mean, to symbolize that, and I think that the music is a faithful soundtrack to both future, more darker one and more peaceful one. And what I like with UN and UNESCO is actually these people are thinking quite ahead of their time, and it's in days where we are confronted to governments just thinking about the next elections, or big companies thinking about the money they are going to make by the end of the year. We know that it's not enough to be all in the country of bicycles. I mean, they know here in this country more than ever, if you want to go safe, you shouldn't look at your feet, but look at the road. And it's what I like with UNESCO, is that these guys are doing so.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Our time is up, unfortunately.
So he had one last question.
You recently announced that you're working on a biography. Can you tell us a bit more about this already?
No, because I'm doing it, and it wouldn't be a surprise otherwise. So you'll know more like next year. But I'm actually working at it. Yes, it's sure.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Alright, that was it, this week's vlog. My interview with Jean-Michel Jarre. Jean-Michel, merci for your time, much appreciated. I hope you guys enjoyed the vlog. If you did, make sure to give this video a like, leave a comment in the comment section below, and very important, make sure to subscribe for more content. Once again, thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye bye!